All right, Larry Krueger down here at Levi's on a Friday with a full Niner recap of everything that happened on this Friday before the Niners get on the bird and go to Houston to take on the Texans on Sunday in Week 8 in the NFL. All right, today we talked to Kyle Shanahan after practice. Bryce Huff is out. Jake Brendel is out. Ricky Pearsall is out. Brock Purdy is out, though Purdy will make the trip to Houston, but he is out. Yetur Gross-Matos is also out. Limited or questionable for the game, Demo Lenore, Spencer Burford, and Luke Gifford. As far as practice today, Purdy, Pearsall, Gross-Matos, Brendel, Huff, those guys did not practice. Lenore and Gifford did practice. Purdy was on a side field from what I could tell at practice. So there you go. There's a little breakdown of that. So that means Mac Jones is most likely going to start at quarterback for the 49ers once again. And will Purdy be number 2 or number 3? We'll find out. Could be Adrian Martinez as the number 2 quarterback. The big news of the day was that Kyle Shanahan told us that Brandon Aiyuk is getting a lot closer to returning and that we're in a week-to-week stage now. So he may have his practice window, his 3-week practice window opened as soon as next week. Shanahan said it was a possibility. It may happen, it may not happen, but it's a possibility. Now, this is huge because it was week 7 that Aiyuk got hurt last year, and a lot of people thought he'd be back by now, and he hasn't been. He's not back by now because the injury is very severe, and it was 3 major tears in that knee, and so now to find out today that he could have his practice window opened as soon as next week, this is the first hard timeline we've had on Brandon Aiyuk's return to the playing field since Aiyuk was injured. So major news today on the Aiyuk front. He could be back at practice as soon as next week. Then the Niners will have 3 weeks to let him, practice, and then they'll decide at the end of those 3 weeks if he's going to be activated. If he's not activated, he goes on season-ending IR, and his year essentially comes to an end. Let's talk a little bit about the matchup. Niners are 5-2. They're in Houston to take on the 2-4 Texans on Sunday. Texans are 2.5-point favorites. Should be an interesting game. As I said, Jones will start at quarterback. Houston's got the number 1 defense. They give up only 14 points a game. They're number 1 in points allowed. They're 2nd in defensive EPA. They're 5th in yards per carry allowed. So it's a really tough defense to run against. It's a really tough defense to move the ball against. Houston will be without wide receivers Christian Kirk and Nico Collins. They're both out. Collins has got the concussion. Kirk's got the hamstring. So Jalen Noel and Jaden Higgins, 2 rookie receivers from Iowa State, will probably be asked to step up. The 49ers come into this game playing well on offense. They lead the NFL in passing yards, 271.3 a game, and they have the 2nd most yak yards on the year with 923 through 7 games. One area where the Niners have a decided advantage is the Niner D-line against this Houston O-line, you would think. Now, the Niners are not going to have Bryce Huff. He's out for the game, but Houston has been putrid on the offensive line. They're 30th in pass block win rate. They're 30th in run block win rate. So they're, in the left side of Houston's line with Arianti Ursary at left tackle and ex-Niner Laken Tomlinson at left guard, both those guys are bottom 10 as far as the pass protection metrics are concerned. So the defensive right side, I would imagine, is where the Niners are going to try to attack this Houston offensive line and C.J. Stroud. As far as betting trends, the Niners are 1-13 against the spread in after their last 14 wins. So they haven't necessarily played well off of a win. One interesting stat to look for is Houston is when they on offense, when they get to 3rd or 5 or less, they convert. They're 2nd best in the NFL at converting on 3rd and 5 or less offensively. So if they can get into 3rd and short, that's the game they want to play. When it's 3rd and 6 or longer, they go from 2nd in the NFL to 32nd, dead last. So if you can get Houston and win on 1st and 2nd down, I think that's the major key. You win on 1st and 2nd down, get them into 3rd and long, and then even without Bryce Huff and Nick Bosa, I think you got a great chance to have some success against the Texans in that scenario. Let's talk about a couple other notes from today. Adam Schefter reports that the 49ers are very active in reaching out to teams to make a trade in advance of the trade deadline, presumably for a pass rusher. Also, Connor Hughes, the New York Jets beat writer, says that Quinnen Williams, the Jets star defensive tackle, is unhappy and that the Jets may be shopping Quinnen Williams, looking for a second-round pick in return. Now, Quinnen Williams and Robert Saleh were pretty close, if I remember, when Saleh was with the Jets, and it makes you wonder, would Saleh say to Lynch, hey, let's, we got Mac Jones we might be able to trade. We might, be able to get other draft picks. Let's move that second-round pick and get Quinnen Williams. I'd be interested to know if the Niners would have an interest in Quinnen Williams or if they really want that defensive end. But Quinnen Williams would be a phenomenal get for the 49ers. And it sounds like the Niners want a difference maker on their defensive line. It sounds like they want a defensive end, but man, Quinnen Williams is such a difference maker. I wonder if Lynch would go for him if he were available. And, would the Niners pull the trigger on something like that if they could get a guy like that for a second-round pick? I think I would. I think I absolutely would. I mean, there's a financial component to the whole thing that involves the salary cap, and you'd have to make that money all pen out on your cap. It would have to work out. But, man, that's the kind of player that might make the 49ers, leap. And the other thing is Lynch, wants to make an impact. He doesn't want to make a move just to make a move. You acquire Quinnen Williams, that is a major, major impact to your team. So that will be something to look for as the trade deadline draws closer. Once again, it's coming up on November the 4th. Couple other notes. John McVey is among 21 contributors that have advanced to the next stage in the voting for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Now, this is a guy, John McVey is a great 49er. This is the grandfather of Sean McVey, former assistant to Bill Walsh. Walsh and McVey really were the architects that turned the Niners from horrible to a dynasty. I mean, they went from the outhouse to the penthouse under John McVey and Bill Walsh. He was Bill Walsh's right-hand man. Now, McVey's had a great football career. He was a center in college at Miami of Ohio for the Red Hawks, I believe. He was a New York Giants assistant coach in 1976. He became the New York Giants head coach in 1978 and was 14-23 as the head coach of the Giants. So not a great head coach. But in 1980, he joined Bill Walsh as an executive with the 49ers and had multiple tenures with the Niners, 80 through 94. And then he was back in 95, then 98 and 99. He was the NFL Executive of the Year in 1989. He's in the 49ers Hall of Fame, Team Hall of Fame, and I would love to see John McVey in the actual Hall of Fame. So I hope that happens. Good luck to John McVey trying to get into the Hall of Fame. I hope he makes it. And let's get into, as far as keys to victory here. Let's finish with the keys to victory. I think number one is you got to gang tackle. Just like last week, you got to bring all 11 guys to the party. You got to be super physical with these Texans weapons. This group of weapons does not like the physicality. Be physical with the Houston's weapons. You got to give C.J. Stroud a lot of different looks at the line of scrimmage and confuse him. If you make him pause at the line of scrimmage because you're giving him a lot of pre-snap looks that are confusing him, I think that's advantage 49ers. And then I think you've got to pressure them off the Niners' defensive right side to take advantage of Tomlinson and Ursary, who have struggled on the left side of that line. And then I think the fifth concept of key to victory is don't take too many chances offensively. You've got Aziz Al-Shaair, you've got Will Anderson, you've got Danielle Hunter, you've got some of the most violent players in the NFL, and you've got a very fast carpet and a very slow quarterback in Mac Jones. Don't take chances. No 7-step drops, no holding the ball. Get the ball out fast. Don't give Houston a lot of running hits at your quarterback. And I think if you do that, you're going to win a low-scoring game. I like the Niners to win this thing. I'm going to say 17-12. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game, maybe 20-12 with a late field goal, but let's say 20-12 49ers. We should tell you, we want to tell you that our channel is sponsored by Pig and a Pickle. the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out. They're in Emeryville. They're in Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out, and they do run out. So get there early, get some brisket chili. Tell them that Krug sent you. And this 49er football season, all season long, is presented by Sleeper, the fastest growing fantasy platform in the world. It's a one-stop shop. You get blazing fast news, real-time stats, group chats, season-long leagues, and of course, Sleeper picks for daily fantasy. Use promo code Larry. Sleeper will match your first deposit up to $100. Links in the description. Terms and conditions do apply. Thanks to Sleeper, thanks to Pig in a Pickle, and thanks to all of you guys for supporting The Krug Show on YouTube.